Hey there. Ready to dive into something pretty important today? It affects us all, your relationship with money. We've got a great mix of sources for you today. A big think video featuring behavioral economist Daniel Kahneman and financial expert Vicki Robin, plus insights from author Bruce Feiler on raising financially savvy kids. Buckle up, because we're about to uncover some surprising facts about how you can save, spend, and think more rationally about your finances.
It's fascinating how these sources go beyond just like the typical budget tips. And they really delve into the psychology of money, why we make the financial decisions we do, and how to make choices that really align with our values.
Right. It's like, before we even look at the numbers, we need to understand our feelings about money. And speaking of feelings, Vicki Robin tells this story about a room full of people, from millionaires to students struggling with debt. And you know what? They all admitted to feeling fear about money.
It's so relatable, isn't it? Regardless of income, that anxiety around finances just seems almost universal.
Yeah.
And this fear often stems from feeling like we're just not in control.
Totally. And that feeling of being overwhelmed is where things can go wrong. Kahneman talks about this idea of narrow framing.
Hmm.
It's like we get so fixated on immediate decisions, like, should I splurge on this right now, that we totally forget about the bigger picture.
He actually gave a really good example
Mm.
of people who are saving diligently for retirement, but also carrying credit card debt at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
If they zoomed out and looked at their finances more holistically, they'd probably make different choices.
That's such a good point. It's like we're so focused on the trees that we miss the whole forest. So how do we break free from this narrow framing trap?
Well, Vicki Robin offers a really practical framework. She calls it the 4 layers of financial independence.
Okay, I'm all ears. Let's break down these layers. What's the first one?
The foundation is sovereignty.
Hmm.
It's all about recognizing that you are the boss of your money, not the other way around.
Right.
You decide how you earn it, spend it, and save it. It's about taking ownership
Yeah.
and making conscious choices.
It's empowering, right? Like, instead of feeling controlled by your finances, you're the one calling the shots.
Exactly. And that leads to the second layer, debt elimination. Robin emphasizes understanding the true cost of debt and how it can just limit your options down the road. Think about it. How much of your income is going toward paying off debt? Money that could be used for something else.
It's like debt holds you back from future possibilities. I know it can feel overwhelming, but Robin also shared some encouraging stories of people who overcame what seemed like impossible debt situations.
Those stories are so inspiring, aren't they? They remind us that even if we feel trapped by debt, there's always a way out. And once you tackle that debt, you can move on to the third layer, building a safety net.
Right. The infamous emergency fund. Having that cushion of 6 months worth of living expenses can make all the difference, especially with all the uncertainty in the job market these days.
Imagine that peace of mind, knowing that even if you hit a rough patch, you've got a financial buffer to fall back on.
That's true security. Okay, so we've got sovereignty, debt elimination, and the emergency fund. What's the final layer that leads to financial independence?
It's all about putting your money to work for you, investing for passive income. Robin advocates for consistent saving and smart investing to generate more money over time. It's about harnessing the power of compounding.
Ah, yes, the magic of compound interest. That concept always blows my mind. How the money you save today can grow exponentially over the years.
Precisely. And Robin has a simple but powerful suggestion for getting a handle on your spending habits. Track them.
Okay?
Just use your debit card statements to see where your money is actually going. It can be really eye-opening.
It's like holding up a mirror to your spending habits, right?
Yeah.
You might be surprised to see where your money's actually going.
And it prompts you to ask some key questions. Do your purchases align with your values and long-term goals? Or are you spending on things that don't truly matter to you in the grand scheme of things?
That's a great point. It's not just about tracking the numbers. It's about asking yourself if those purchases actually bring you lasting happiness. It's so easy to get caught up in those impulsive buys, especially with all the marketing and advertising we're bombarded with these days. But what if we could make more mindful decisions about our spending?
Absolutely. And Kahneman really emphasizes the importance of numeracy in making sound financial decisions, being comfortable working with numbers, and understanding concepts like compound interest can really empower you.
That makes sense. It's like if you don't really understand how interest works, it's harder to make smart choices about loans, credit cards, and even investments.
Exactly. And just as crucial as numeracy is emotional control. Kahneman points out that people tend to overreact to market fluctuations.
Yeah.
So instead of panicking when the market dips, having a solid understanding of long-term investment strategies can help you stay the course.
So it's about having a plan and sticking to it even when things get a little bumpy, not letting emotions drive those big financial decisions.
Right. And speaking of emotions, this brings us to the fascinating connection between money and happiness.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting for me. So many people believe that more money equals more happiness. But is that actually true?
Well, Michael Norton, another expert in the field, argues that it's not necessarily about the amount of money you have, but how you spend it.
Okay.
His research shows that spending on experiences tends to bring more lasting happiness than spending on material possessions.
I can definitely see that. Think about it. A new phone might be exciting for a few weeks, but the memory of that amazing trip you took with friends can bring you joy for years to come.
Exactly. Experiences create memories, and often they're shared with others, which strengthens relationships and adds another layer to the enjoyment.
Plus, experiences can be more unique and personal,
Hmm.
which contributes to our sense of identity and fulfillment. It's not just about accumulating stuff.
And here's another fascinating finding. Spending money on others can also boost happiness. Whether it's giving to charity, buying a thoughtful gift, or simply treating a friend to dinner, acts of generosity can have a powerful impact on our well-being.
It's like that feeling you get when you do something nice for someone else. It just warms your heart, makes you feel good.
It's a reminder that happiness isn't just about acquiring things for ourselves, it's also about connection and contributing to something larger than ourselves.
Now that makes me think about raising kids in a way that sets them up for a healthy relationship with money.
Oh, hello.
After all, we want them to be financially responsible, but also to find joy and meaning in their lives.
You're absolutely right. And we have some great insights from author Bruce Feiler, who actually spoke with Warren Buffett's own bankers
Yeah.
about how wealthy families approach financial education.
Okay, I'm all ears. What's the secret sauce?
Well, it turns out open communication is key. These families emphasize talking to kids about money from a young age, where it comes from, how to earn it, how to save it, the whole 9 yards.
That makes sense.
Mm.
But so many parents, myself included, worry about burdening kids with money talk. Like, shouldn't childhood be carefree?
I hear you. But these experts argue that knowledge is power, even when it comes to finances. Giving kids a solid understanding of money empowers them to make responsible choices later in life.
It's like giving them the tools and knowledge to navigate the financial world confidently.
Exactly. And here's another interesting takeaway. They recommend separating chores from allowance.
Mhm.
Chores are about contributing to the family and being a responsible member of the household, while an allowance is a tool for learning about managing money.
I love that distinction. So chores are about teamwork and responsibility, while allowance is about learning how to budget, save, and make spending choices.
Precisely. And this sets the stage for the final piece of advice, which might seem counterintuitive. Don't be afraid to let kids make mistakes with money while the stakes are low.
Oh, that's interesting. What do you mean by that?
Well, one of Buffett's bankers said something really profound. It's much better to make a mistake with a $6 allowance than a $60,000 a year salary or a $6 million inheritance.
Wow, that puts it into perspective.
Hmm.
It's like letting kids learn from their financial missteps early on while they're still young.
Yeah,
And the consequences are relatively minor.
exactly. It allows them to develop those financial muscles and decision-making skills in a safe environment. And, this idea of allowing for mistakes ties in nicely with Vicki Robbins' concept of enough.
Ah, yes, the idea of enough.
Yeah.
We've touched on it throughout our conversation today, but I'd love to hear more about what that actually means.
It's a powerful concept, isn't it? It's not about deprivation. It's about finding that sweet spot, having what you need for a fulfilling life without getting caught up in the endless cycle of wanting more, more, more. It's about recognizing that true wealth isn't measured solely by your bank balance, but by the richness of your experiences, relationships, and overall well-being.
That resonates with me so deeply. It's like shifting the focus from material possessions to those intangible things that truly bring us joy and fulfillment.
Exactly. It's about aligning your spending with your values and recognizing that sometimes less is actually more.
So how do we, as individuals, start to cultivate this sense of enough in our own lives?
It's a journey, not a destination. It starts with awareness, paying attention to your spending habits, and asking yourself, do these purchases truly align with what matters most to me?
So it's not about denying ourselves nice things, but rather being more intentional about our choices, making sure our spending reflects our values.
Exactly. It's also about recognizing the difference between wants and needs, and sometimes challenging those assumptions. Do you really need that new gadget? or is it just something you want?
It's so easy to get caught up in that cycle of wanting the next best thing, always striving for more. But maybe true contentment comes from appreciating what we already have.
That's a powerful insight. Gratitude can be a potent antidote to that feeling of never having enough. Taking time to appreciate the good things in your life, both big and small, it can really shift your perspective.
And maybe it also involves setting boundaries, right? Like consciously limiting our exposure to advertising
Yeah.
and marketing messages that constantly tell us we need more stuff to be happy.
Absolutely. Creating some distance from those external influences can help you connect with your own internal compass and figure out what truly brings you joy.
This has been such an eye-opening conversation. I feel like we've covered so much ground today, from understanding the psychology of money to raising financially savvy kids. And now this idea of enough. So much to think about.
It's a lot to digest, for sure. But what's really exciting is that all of these insights point towards a more mindful and intentional way of approaching our finances. It's not just about the numbers, it's about creating a life that feels rich and meaningful, both financially and emotionally.
So for you listening, what really resonated with you today? Was it Kahneman's concept of narrow framing and how it can lead to less than ideal financial choices? Or maybe Vicki Robbins' 4 layers of financial independence provided a roadmap for gaining control of your money.
Perhaps Michael Norton's research on spending and happiness sparked some ideas about how you can align your spending with your values and find more joy in your life. Or maybe you're feeling inspired to have those crucial conversations about money with your children, setting them up for a lifetime of financial well-being.
Whatever resonated with you, I hope this deep dive has empowered you to examine your relationship with money, challenge those limiting beliefs, and start making choices that align with your deepest values and aspirations.
Remember, it's a journey. There will be bumps along the road, and that's okay. Embrace those imperfections, learn from your mistakes, and keep moving forward. You've got this.